Anybody who knows me know that I can't stand behind a podium and talk. Standing still stops the speaking process for me. I'm going to come at this from a different perspective. I'm a practitioner. What happens in my day-to-day life is that I get called by a school or a family or by an adult service provider because an individual on the spectrum is not learning or is being unsuccessful in employment, and typically because there are behavioral issues. And when I come into those situations, what they're typically looking for is a very quick fix. What is the recipe? What is going to be the solution? And I think that what I have learned over the years, and previous to that I was a classroom teacher, what I have learned in my years of being a classroom teacher is that the students, I have never found a classroom of rats. I have never found a classroom of moles or voles or any other pigeons or any other clinical kind of subject. What I find is I go into schools and adult services and to homes are children and adults with complex issues, who have families, who are oftentimes struggling with issues, who are dealing with very complex social service systems that oftentimes are very disjointed. What I find are individuals who there is a lack of understanding about the medical conditions associated with autism, and those are looked at as being part of the behavior of autism. What I find are families who are struggling. And so when I go in and I do a consultation, sometimes I'm talking to families about how do we keep your marriage together? How do we help your other children? Because autism is not only a whole body condition, but it's a whole family condition. How do we get you connected with the resources and services so yes, you can have a date? How do we get you connected with money so that you can provide the therapy services that your sons and daughters need? How do we make sure that your child is in the best program? I believe that today, and I agree with Lee, that we know what to do. We know what evidence-based practices are. Here is the difficulty. It's called fidelity of implementation. We know what to do, but unfortunately, oftentimes we don't do it. Even in the medical community, they say that only about 40% of the time are proper procedures implemented in terms of our treatment. And so what we really have to push for is fidelity of implementation. The other issue that we need to push for, and I very strongly believe this, is that autism is a disorder, is a disability that affects everybody from every socioeconomic status. And I don't think that we as a community can rest until those who are the most affluent to those who are the poorest have equal access to services and opportunities. The other thing that we need to understand is the contextual fit of autism. Autism is not a disorder that happens in isolation away from the environment that people live in. It is a disability that happens in people's lives. It does not happen in a lab. So my challenge to researchers is this. I'm not going to judge the success of your research by how well your study is conducted, by how pure your statistics are, but here is how I'm going to judge the success of your research, is if the employment rate of adults with autism increases. If families can go to physicians and physicians without asking questions understand, Dave, that for many of our individuals, there is a medical condition associated with autism that relates to their gastrointestinal system, and they look at it as a whole body condition. I will say that our research is working when every child in every school across every age span has equal access to high-quality education that reflects evidence-based practices. I will believe that our research is being successful when we can focus on the success and the wonderful qualities and gifts of our individuals instead of their deficits and weaknesses. Then we know that research has worked.